Doctor Who Corner to Corner podcast. This is a very sombre episode of our podcast as we're here tonight to discuss the death of Clara Oswald. If you've been listening to our podcast before, you'll know that I'm a big fan of Miss Oswald, and her death hit me so very, very hard. But of course, she's not really dead, is she? The Doctor saved her, and we caught up with her at the end of the Witchfinder's Target novel, which I'm sure we'll discuss a bit later. Good evening, my name is Geoff, and I'm joined as always by...
Hi Geoff, how are you feeling?
Quite happy to be discussing Clara,
are you
but
sad?
Sad that we have to talk about her dying, but it's fine because she's still alive, really. So She
lives forever.
Does live forever, yeah.
It's a Stephen Moffat death, don't forget. And they don't really count as actual deaths.
Yeah, that's true.
They count as temporary suspensions in order to build up some kind of tension and suspense for some weird kind of timey-wimey payoff a few episodes later. Yeah. Or even in the next episode. Or even the same episode.
Yeah,
Who knows?
No.
Anyway, yes. So, sad times, sorry.
Yeah. So,
sad times, Death of Clara, your favourite.
So she's my favourite, a tie with Yaz, I think. And probably depends what episode I'm watching as to who is the actual favourite at that moment in time. So we were thinking a while ago about what topics we could cover for upcoming episodes, and this was suggested. I can't remember whether you or I or maybe even someone else threw it out there, but I thought any excuse to talk about
I think you've
Clara.
always wanted to do an episode focusing on Clara, haven't you? And you wanted to do the Clara thing, and I thought it'd be a great idea to do the whole end trilogy of the end of Series 9, because I kind of like it, and I wanted to talk about the themes and all of that, and then you're like, yeah, that's a great idea, and Clara.
Yeah.
And then somehow it's just suddenly become all about Clara. So we'll see how it turns out.
Which is much like the show itself, really. I wanted to talk about Clara. So we decided that we would tackle Face the Raven, Heaven Sent, and Hellbent, and discuss those. So we've put a number of posts out on Twitter and asked people for their opinions on Clara and on the individual episodes as well that we're looking at, and we had a really big response to this, actually, particularly the tweet today asking about Clara kind of all day long, pinging off and things coming in.
Yes.
So we've had a number of voice notes sent in from listeners through SpeakPipe, which is a voice note recording platform, speakpipe.com/whoc2c, so you can go and record a short voice note. So anytime we've got an episode coming up that you want to contribute a comment to, you can leave it, or you can send in a question for a guest, or just send us feedback. So by all means, please do that. We'd love to hear people and be able to feature it in the show. So,
particularly feedback which says, "Dear Who, Corner to Corner, I think Paul is amazing and Geoff is a knob." that sort of feedback is great. I love that. So just send loads of that in. That'd be great.
Yeah, please do that. Yeah,
you might even get a badge.
Paul's knob badge. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Anyway, come on, to the point. Where are we at? What's going on?
I remember when Jenna was announced as going to be joining Doctor Who, and I thought, I've never seen her in was it Emmerdale she was in? Never seen her in anything
Emmerdale
before, but she looks cool, and we'll see what happens here. And then, as you might know if you listen to the podcast before, I love a good surprise, and when she popped up in Asylum of the Daleks, I almost fell off my sofa because I thought, what the hell? She's not due to appear till Christmas time or something. So they kept that really secret.
Indeed. And yet here she is, in a red dress, cooking soufflés and things.
And living inside a Dalek. Yeah.
Mad, insane, crazy, desperate Daleks.
Yes. So it was...
and you're thinking, what's that all about? I don't know.
Yeah. So I loved the Impossible Girl storyline. And, I'll be honest...
Glad someone did.
Clara at that point was probably more of a kind of mystery box puzzle type thing than a fully fleshed out character. And then in series 8 and 9 with Peter, she was really kind of enriched,
lots of other different
and
characters,
deepened, and she came back in a number of different personas. Yeah, so I really liked Jenna. I thought she was excellent in the show. She superbly held her own against Capaldi, and in the other things that she's done
alongside.
What did I say? Opposite, alongside. With mini-series like The Cry, which was really quite an emotional kind of thriller about the sort of accidental death of the couple's baby, and we were talking before we went on air that Paul's not a big fan of that kind of emotional stuff, and I'll be honest, I'm not really either. I tend to like more positive and upbeat stuff. I don't mind a bit of darkness and a bit of emotion and stuff, but it's got to be a certain type, to be honest, and sort of somewhat light in some ways, and so something about that is quite a dark, thing. But I thought, well, I'll watch it because it's got Jenna in it, and she was just amazing in it. Really kind of layered, performance full of grief and anger and all sorts of stuff. Not at all cheerful. And then in Wilderness, which she did, where she accidentally kills someone and then is sort of trying to get away with it. Basically, is the plot. She's also excellent in that, and another kind of multifaceted performance there. Big fan of Jenna. I really like her. I'd quite like to see her do something a bit lighter. In Doctor Who, she gets to do or got to do the dramatic stuff as well as kind of lighter-hearted moments as well. So she tends to veer towards the sort of more dramatic stuff. Obviously, I think she's excellent at it, and it comes kind of maybe not easy to her, but she does a great job. But it'd be nice to see her do something lighter at some point, bit comical perhaps, because I think she's got the chops for that. Anyway, I'm going on about Jenna now. We were going to talk about Face the Raven, which is the first part of the kind of end trilogy of Series 9.
Yes.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, essentially, Rigsy, who was a friend of Clara and the Doctor from Series 8 in Flatline, he calls up Clara in the TARDIS. He's got the TARDIS's number from her, and he's awoken to find his memories are missing, and he's got a strange tattoo on the back of his neck that's counting down.
I mean, who hasn't woken up in those circumstances? No idea what happened yesterday, but I got this flipping weird tattoo on the back of my neck.
Yeah, but if
you
haven't done that, tweet us in and tell us. So
the Doctor's not, needless to say, the Doctor's like whatever.
Well, he is kind of,
He's like, Firstly, what does he call him?
Knowledge.
He's got a name for him, hasn't he?
Knowledge.
Local knowledge, yeah. Why is local knowledge ringing up the TARDIS phone? That's only for emergencies. And so what? He's got a tattoo on the back of his neck.
I wrote that he kind of doesn't care, the Doctor, and he
No, he doesn't. No, this Doctor doesn't care about things like that. He's like Tom Baker in the Pyramids of Mars, isn't he? He's kind of he's got his eye in the bigger picture. He's a wanderer in the fourth dimension. He walks in eternity, not in somebody's flat.
He's sort of not interested. And I almost got the feeling that he sort of not necessarily knew about the Raven element. I can't remember what they call it now, but the quantum shade. But the tattoo counting down was going to be, there was basically nothing he could do about it, and he gets the cue cards out, doesn't he? Again at this point, which we haven't seen for a while.
A bit later on.
Rigsy says, "What's he doing?" Clara says he's trying to be nice. How to tell you.
Yeah. Try and find a way to break the bad news. Or
and so I got the feeling at this point that the Doctor didn't really care, knew there was nothing he could do about it, and then sort of puts it on that, okay, let's go and see what we can do here, and try and save you.
He does. Well, that's exactly what he does, isn't it? Yeah, he's like, let's go through the motions. You know, I'll make it look as though make it look as though there is something to be done. But then he becomes engaged in the whole mystery of the
He does, and also
he
he gets the Gallifreyan symbols come up, doesn't he, on the screen in the TARDIS. So it's that, and then the Trap Street. And this episode it's a bit like in some ways Fugitive of the Jadoon, in that it starts off kind of one way, and you think it's just a kind of a bit of a semi-light romp looking for the Trap Street, and then of course it takes a turn after that darker turn, and it really is quite dark. So the whole bit of looking for the Trap Street and that concept of kind of hidden streets is good fun. And I love that bit where Clara's hanging out the TARDIS trying to look down at London. I mean, it's totally unnecessary. They probably didn't need to do that, but it was great fun, and she was loving it, and it just further kind of reinforces this stuff about Clara basically being kind of reckless and dangerous, and Rigsy says she was enjoying that way too much. And I think
she's got a death wish or something.
Death wish, and I really liked the character of Clara, because I thought that she was smart and confident and brave, and she kind of held her own, really well against the Doctor, and kind of, I think all the companions do really, but she kind of wasn't afraid, particularly in series 8 and 9. She wasn't afraid to, stand up for herself and kind of challenge him and confront him. And there's people have sort of said, oh, it's Clara who, and she was, Dr. Clara and stuff. And I think it was probably. Well, it was clearly intentional that was how she was developed to really take a companion down that road of kind of idolising the Doctor, but really wanting to, be like the Doctor. And you look at like Yaz with What Would the Doctor Do? That's a sort of inspirational thing. I want to sort of be like the Doctor, whereas Clara kind of wants to be the Doctor, and there's a difference there. And she
agreed.
It gets increasingly kind of bolshy and, like I said, brave and reckless, and sort of you see it again at the start of this episode. There's an unseen adventure that happens as they crashing in. They fall into the TARDIS at the beginning, and the Doctor's nearly married a humanoid plant thing, and Clara's done this, that, and the other, and she's absolutely loving it. And you can tell he's a little bit like, we should probably put the brakes on a bit here. And in this episode,
there's a change in his expression somewhere there, isn't there?
Yeah. Yes, he's starting to, think perhaps this is all going a bit far, and she's getting kind of too carried away with it, and that's paid off a bit later when he said he had a duty of care to her, and he sort of feels like he's let her down, and it made me think a bit about 13 again, and how she gets all her companions home in one piece, which is actually certainly in New Who quite unusual. Most of the other companions have had some sort of tragic ending, haven't they? Whether it's been stuck in a parallel world, or having your memory wiped, or going back in time and being displaced and all that. It's really only Martha that had a kind of happy ending, in that she chose to leave. The Clara's being kind of really reckless and everything here, and she thinks when they discover the clause that the countdown tattoo on Rigsy can be given and taken by someone else, you can see that she's like, I'll take that, and I've always felt Clara was quite kind as well, and she'll take it because it's a kind of a kind thing to do, and it helps him, and
it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do, a doctory thing to do. But she's like, I'll take it. It's fine. The Doctor will sort it out. We'll be all right. And then when she finds out later, you're fucked. I still think she's really brave about it, and she kind of accepts. She's
got no choice really, has she?
She hasn't. There's nothing they can do about it,
and now she's got to serve her time. That's it. There's nothing the Doctor or the Shield can do.
No, she's quite accepting of it, she says, "Let me be brave, let me be brave," and she, really was kind of right.
I wouldn't be, to be honest. I'd be screaming around in my underpants, desperately clawing at the walls, trying to figure a way out of this. I wouldn't go in for all that soppy mush that she comes out with at the end.
If I was
Don't go on a revenge quest. It's not worth it. It's only me.
Yeah. Well, all of that as well. You in that whole.
It's a testament to the strength of her character. She's not a weak sap like I am.
Yeah. Well, if I was in her situation, I don't think the first thing I'd do would be stripped down to my pants. But if that's what you do, mate, then that's absolutely fine.
Totally. Yeah. That's exactly what I do. I've got my death day all planned. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
I bet you got no trousers.
They
are
going to be very good quality pants, though. No, but I tell you, they're quality pants. These are pants like you would never seen. They are mega pants. Sorry. Anyway, I'm bringing the tone down a little bit. You crack on.
There's a merch idea there. Mega pants with our faces on.
Who corner to corner pants, as worn by your co-host Paul. Yes, we've even laundered them for you, but not too much.
They are second hand. So yeah, you're right. That bit there with
enough.
Peter,
come on, back on topic. Come on, this is getting good. I was listening to this. I was
really? Okay.
This.
I thought you'd switched off. I just thought I'd carry on. So when she talks to the doctor there, she talks to the doctor there towards the end, and they've both realised there's nothing they can do, and this is her destiny by her own making. And like you just said, she is more focused on him and almost kind of, don't go on a revenge quest, don't become a monster, that sort of thing. And it made me think a bit like about the War Doctor, and kind of don't turn back into that.
Yeah.
Because he's saying, I'll
and the
burn
Time Lord
everything.
Victorious, like Tennant, the 10th Doctor at the end, when he goes off on his own. Clara's right. He doesn't do being on his own very well.
And he's saying...
in the modern series, at least, anyway.
No, that's true. And he's saying to, Ashilda, I'll bring the Daleks and the Cybermen and all of that, and I'll rain fire down on this place. And she's, telling him not to. And it kind of parallels quite nicely with her appearance in Listen when she goes back to when he's a young boy in the shed. Do you remember where I've always felt that Clara is probably the Doctor's most important companion of them all because of the impact she had.
While she's his companion, because she's never heard of since, but apparently that's the case.
Well, he doesn't really remember after the end of the series 9, does he? But she was there when he was a young lad, upset, and she was talking to him about fear as a superpower and things, and kind of putting him on that path to be where he is today. And she's been there, with the other incarnations at pivotal points and all of that. So I always felt that she was kind of important in shaping who the Doctor was, and then at the end of her life there, just trying to shape who he should be going forward. That I've sort of completely bypassed most of the stuff with the Trapstree and stuff, and we can come out to that. But I thought that the whole relationship between Peter and Jenna across their 2 series was so nicely done. They clearly off screen were great friends. Seen them. I think he's been to see our shows in London. She's been to see him on filming sets and stuff like that. And they're obviously still pals. And I think they obviously really liked each other off screen and on screen. I think the relationship between the two of them, it was spiky at times. They fall out at one point. She leaves, and they argue and bicker and stuff like that. But you see, just how much she means to him, particularly in Series 8 when. When Danny's died and she's got the keys to the TARDIS and she's going to throw them into the lava, and he says, do you think you mean that little to me? That and when they hug at the end of Series 8, do you remember? And they're both lying to each other, and it's awful. It's so sad, So yeah, the way they play this scene in the little house there together, Peter's superb in it. The look on his face when he realises that it's over for her. He just plays it brilliantly. I think even now, I just watched it earlier. It's still really affecting and really powerful. It's beautifully done. Anyway, I'm waffling here. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of their pairing.
That's all right.
And Jenna, I texted you the other day, and after your spouting of knowledge about pyramids and Mars. I said I'm going to try to show my my cred when we talk about Face the Raven, but it's mostly just turned into a Jenna
and you made a load of crap Mick Jagger jokes.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
and
that's
I just
all.
Made a whole load of crass pants jokes by return. So there you go.
There we go. So, and Traps, Face the Raven and Trap Street in itself, I think is. I love the concept of that. I like that little.
It's a nice idea.
It is. You know, there's probably mileage in there for more stuff like that. You know, more Trap Street things. And I like that there's all the sort of perception.
Maybe, yeah. I think the mystery of it. Sorry, I was going to say. I think the mystery of it works once. Depends what you can do there. It's a nice idea. Work once. I think. What else could you do with it? I mean, you could hide all kinds of things in the trap street.
Yes, that's kind of
this idea of a dimensional trap street as opposed to the cartographer's trap street.
Yeah, that's sort of more.
I would hate for it to become overused. You know what I mean? It's like there's another trap street. You know, there's Cybermen hiding a bomb in a trap street. Oh, the Daleks have got a secret base they've had for like 20,000 years in a trap street. You know, it's like it's nice the first time because it's nice and original. We haven't seen it. It's a refugee camp for aliens. We get to see how aliens kind of view the human species as a little bit predatory and dangerous, and there's a little bit of kind of social commentary and stuff like that on it. I'm not massively keen on it looking like a medieval village
I quite
or like
liked
diagonal alley.
Great little set.
It's all right. I mean, it's full of atmosphere. It's kind of twee. I just don't see why, because it's in a 21st century kind of place. I mean, there are bits of London which are like that though, which seem to retain their almost faux medieval character. We had a pub lunch in the oldest pub, and then found out it was the oldest pub, but it had been burnt to the ground and rebuilt, so it wasn't actually the oldest pub. And I think that kind of typifies a lot of these places that are like that. You know, they're sort of like copies of old things. So maybe there's that. I did like the kind of the idea that you got a medieval type village, and then you got some technology running through it, and some fantasy as well. The technology, the circuits that you see in the streets that kind of become activated in certain ways, and the sort of glitchy.
Yeah, I liked those.
You know, it's all an illusion anyway, so you don't really know what the whole thing looks like.
Yeah, maybe it was just a facade
like that.
I didn't.
I thought it was a bit
because the Shielder says the perception filters make the aliens see how you see them based on your experiences and stuff.
Yeah, on your own expectations. And I think there's a line where I can't remember, it's Dr. Clara says something, and the Shielder goes, "Oh, is that how they look to you?" So something like that.
Yeah, it was quite fun when you see them. Sorry, I was going to say when you see like the two guys flicker away, and there's a Cyberman being operated on by an Ood, and you know.
Yeah, it's all right. I thought it was a bit overdone. Like, you know, show us once, maybe twice, but, you know, 10,000 times. We've kind of got it. You know, we know what's going on. We've got it now. Stop doing it. You know, unless you're going to show us something new and exciting, then stop already. We've done it. We've done a glitch.
So
good for you.
Yeah, maybe this Trap Street looks the way it does because it was. You know, they say about the old maps, you know, the cartographers would hide streets there, and so maybe it's kind of based on it being then...
yeah, because they're looking at old maps,
so
maps of
maybe
London,
that's why.
So maybe that kind of imprinted in their heads that it was going to be a sort of medieval sort of look to it.
So it then obviously kind of leads up to Clara accepting, you know, that she has to go out there and literally face the Raven, and it gets... you know, it's quite dramatic, really, isn't it? It swoops across the street there, and
it's nicely done.
Into her
it's a good Raven. It's a quality Raven.
The arms out, and you know, you see her screaming multiple times, and then you don't hear it. Yeah,
you just hear Murray Gold doing something.
Yeah, but actually, it was quite. It was quite well suited to it. I thought it could have been.
It was kind of like Adric's death, you know, when the credits roll in silence at the end of Earthshock. Maybe that's the kind of effect they were going for.
Yeah, because you have a really pared down version of Clara's theme as well in the preceding section of that. And then for a moment, she stands with her mouth open, and you think, "Oh no, it hasn't happened. Nothing's happened." And then the smoke starts, you know, pouring out. And she crumbles on the ground, and P-Cap's face in the background. Oh god, you can feel and hear his heart's breaking. It's it's still awful to watch now, and I kind of forget about the Riggsy stuff really by that point.
Riggsy's dead to me then. I don't care about Riggsy by then. Is that what you're saying?
And
he's just a way for them to get into the story in a way. I mean, deliberately so. That's how it's kind of plotted. Ishilda is using Riggsy because he hasn't really killed anybody, and he's actually innocent. Of course, the Doctor and Clara don't know that. They suspect it, but they have to prove it. So they kind of led down this fruitless kind of goose chase to, solve a mystery that isn't even a mystery. The girl he murdered isn't even dead. She's held in suspended animation. There's a key. The Doctor's drawn to a lock that can only be opened by his TARDIS key. And at that moment, he understands that it's a trap. So what I like about this story is all the play on the idea of this being a trap. It starts as this idea of a trap street, which is great. And the thing that actually did happen with cartographers, and then it's kind of taken a step further in that it's hiding aliens, which is also good. Refugee camp and all that other stuff. And then there's the perception filter, all the stuff we talked about there. But then it goes further. Riggsy is the bait within the trap. He's there to attract and entice Clara and the Doctor into the situation. And then it kind of hones down. And each level, it's almost like you strip off the top part and you see something. It's like layers of an onion or one of those kind of metal pyramids where all the stuff is kind of pared away until you're left down to the actual finite point of it, the singularity, which is that moment of horror when the Doctor sees that only his TARDIS key will fit that, and he knows right then this is a trap meant for him, and that not just Riggsy, everything else in there, everyone, everything he's seen, everyone he's interacted with, they're just bait. Someone has been here to get him. And like you said, he's seen the Time Lord graphics warning of this whole thing, which kind of adds to the mystery. So he kind of knows that those guys are involved here somewhere, and it's just purely for him. And then she asks for his confession art and stuff, don't she? So I love that stuff, and I also like, just before you could start banging on about Clara again, right? Just let me have a minute here, right? I like I forgot what I was going to say now. I like the meld of the kind of contemporary stuff. That's nice because it's another story that happens in contemporary London, which I was like the War Machines and stuff like that. And I like the sciencey stuff in here as well. The idea of the trap street and hidden behind a kind of dimensional break or perception filter or whatever it is. I think that's nice, and I love the fantasy element of this as well. I think it's great that the whole idea of the quantum shade and personified by the Raven. The Raven obviously has lots of symbolism with death. Throughout history and literature and art, the Raven is a symbol of death. There's no two ways about it. You see a Raven, it's your doom. Time is up. Edgar Allan Poe stories and everything else. So it's always been there, and I love the fact that Sarah Dollard uses that and blends all these elements so well. Like you said, we've got the human side of things, or the humanitarian side. There's so many elements blended into this 40-odd minutes that it's surprising there's even time to show the death of Clara at the end of it. It's a really beautifully plotted, beautifully written, almost leisurely story in a way. Everything just happens at a really nice angle. It all starts and before you realise it, the tragedy has already unfolded. And there's no way out of this. It is ending. The tragedy is not just for Clara, and it's a horrible tragedy. It's not a good way for someone as deep as Clara and who has that relationship, which you said, it's not a good way for her to go. And that's what the Doctor's feeling. She deserves better than this. I think so. And also lots of good stuff in here.
He and they then realise it's essentially a trap for him, and Riggsy was just bait, and Clara ends up becoming kind of collateral in this, and it was meant for him, and it shouldn't have happened to her.
But Ishilda made it happen. She went along with it, didn't she? And for all the Doctor's done, all the rope he's given her, the life that he extended, all right, it was accidental, but nonetheless, and she turns around and she's done this. And maybe she doesn't really know what she's done. You
get the feeling she...
but she had a choice,
to get the Doctor,
like everyone who does these things.
Didn't mean for
Clara.
Choice.
And the tragedy of this is that she chose wrongly. You have not chosen wisely.
Talking of Ishilda, what do you think of the character and the performance by Maisie Williams?
From your tone, I'm suggesting that you don't like it. I mean, I love I like Maisie Williams in Game of Thrones. I think she's great in that. I think in this, I don't think there's an awful lot to the character, to be fair. And I think she kind of struggles with finding any real motivation for the character. I think in the first, the girl who died. I think she's fine in that. I think the woman who lived is where all the depth seems to have been taken out of her, because and it must be difficult in a way, because here's a woman who she can't remember, her brain cannot store everything that she remembers, so she has this way of writing down things. She writes these journals and then deletes memories from her head in some way, so she can accept new lives. In that way she becomes a different person every few hundred years or whatever. So there's a nice set up there for this character to be a different person each time the Doctor and whoever meets her, almost like the Doctor themselves, right? Because every time there's a regeneration, it's a sort of it's a slightly different take on the character. The Doctor's going to be a different person, a different dynamic, a different relationship with the people that they once knew. So there's an idea that Ashildr could almost be like that, but it doesn't quite meet the mark, in my opinion, and I don't think Maisie Williams really does a great job of it by here. It's almost like she's just kind of saying stuff just line by line, because she doesn't really know where to go with it. And and I love Maisie Williams. I think she's great. I just wonder if maybe there's just not enough character here for her to kind of work with. She's quite young. She was when this went out. She doesn't have a huge amount of experience. So I don't know. Maybe,
I was
maybe it's all fine.
never that taken with the character anyway. With the Ashildr,
Oh, well, so I like the character. I think it's the character. She's as a concept, because also she's good, but as a character, as someone who I mean, what does she feel? I mean, she doesn't know what she feels. We sort of get a bit of an exploration about her character in The Woman Who Lived, but it's not. I don't find it very satisfying. It doesn't really. I don't buy it. I think that's the thing. It's like it's a great idea that's kind of explored up to a certain level, and then it's just frittered away. It just becomes lost in a whole load of fluff and faff. And when we see her here for the third time, there's not much really there to.
It was a good concept, and there's another sort of Doctor parallel there, like you're saying. Just sort of becoming a new person every time she has to kind of erase memories and stuff. She was fun in The Girl Who Died. Is that what it's called? But in The Woman Who Lived, I thought she was like, it was nothing special. Maybe I was bitter because Jenna wasn't in that one much, because she was poorly when they filmed that, so she couldn't appear in it. But I just
so Jenna's not in it. It's dead to you. Is that what you're saying, basically?
Wait till I get on to Heaven Sent.
How can you watch Doctor Who now? Jenna's not in it. She's been in it for years.
I hate watch it now. But she, particularly in Face to Raven, like you said, I just felt Maisie was just like reading lines, and maybe it was kind of deliberately supposed to be that she was quite sort of flat and emotionless, because she's wiping her memories and has to remember stuff from her diaries. Maybe. But I wasn't convinced by her acting prowess, and
But she's a good actor.
I mean, she was really good in Game of Thrones, but sometimes people get lucky, and and I'm not sure.
Mate, she would have been in all them episodes if she hadn't been able to pull it off.
Well, that's true, but maybe she is good at one type of thing, and I think she was kind of a big hot thing at this time.
Oh my goodness, Maisie Williams! If you are listening to this podcast, I apologise to my friend here. He doesn't know what he's saying. He's totally enthralled to Jenna Coleman, and sadly, you're not Jenna, so I'm afraid it's kind of dropped down. But I love you.
It's almost
I think
like
you're great.
There's some people in this episode, but I don't know who they are, what they do, what they're called, what they say, and then there's Jenna. That's essentially what it boils down to. I wasn't. I
think that's called cognitive
it wasn't
bias.
Kind of that taken, by her. Anyway, so yeah, this for me is an episode that starts out a little bit fun, turns a bit darker, and then turns quite tragic. And you know, I've always enjoyed Clara and Jenna, and you know, I'm still a huge fan of Clara, and I long for you know, a big finish appearance one day. You know, there are, as we will come to in time, further adventures to have, and there's other splinters and echoes to be explored as well. So hopefully one day those goodies will come to us. So we've got a load of comments from people about their thoughts on Clara and Face the Raven, but why don't we slap on some audio for now? And we've got a couple of thoughts on the episode from Heather Crossley and Joe Ford from Hamster with a Blunt Penknife, haven't we?
Face the Raven, I would say easily one of the best episodes of Doctor Who. I feel like I probably say that about every episode though, to be fair, but I do feel like it is easily one of the best episodes of Doctor Who for sure. But legitimately upset. But I feel like when I first watched it, like, I remember being so angry, and it was like, why did they do that? Why did they do that? Why did they end that like that? Why did they do that? And for so long I was like so angry about it. But now I feel like through time, like I've realised like why they done what they done, and it was like, to me it's like so it's like so satisfying, because it's like, well, she basically goes on to become the first female Doctor, if you think about it. And it's like, do you know what, she's got her TARDIS, she's got her companion, and it's like she's out there, and it's like, it gives you hope that she will. I will be honest, I don't really feel like I want her to return as much as I used to, but it gives me hope that we could get it. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, I totally Face the Raven, 10 out of 10, amazing, just everything about it, love it, and I'm actually surprised that I'm being so positive about it, considering how much it used to annoy me.
Brilliant. Thank you, Heather. That's
Brilliant.
great.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, that's I see what Heather's saying there. You know, and I think that's the sign of good you know, writing, good performances that have connected with you when you really feel something about you know, what happens to a character. You know, and Heather said she felt angry that this had happened to Clara, but over time she come to realise or see that, you know, I've probably said before, I think sometimes in stuff we get not what we want but what we need to create dramatic purpose and you know, move things along. And I think whilst it's, you know, awful that Clara died, you know, what it gave us you know, later for her and for the Doctor, you know, was worth it. And of course at the point,
well, it kind of drives the power for the next two stories, doesn't it? So it drives the Doctor's motivation into the finale.
I was going to say as well, listening to Heather there, it reminded me of when this all went out, thinking, oh God, that's it. You know, Jenna's gone, Clara's dead. There's still 2 episodes. What, you know, what's going to go on? And then remembering that there was photos of Jenna filming at that diner when she's in the blue waitress outfit, and they were you know, pap shots or whatever, and then thinking, oh, actually, hang on, we haven't seen that yet, so maybe there's a cameo or dream or something. So knew she was coming back in some way, but didn't kind of know what capacity or how. So yeah, that's great to hear. Like Heather's a huge fan of Jenna. She's been to see Lemons that she did in London a number of times. I think she's met her a few times, and she recommended that we check out Jackdaw. That is a film she's in that's I think streaming now. So
it's coming out on.
It's on Apple TV.
I think, isn't it?
Just counts.
Yeah, she's actually made me intrigued about that. So thank you, Heather. That looks quite interesting. I should be checking that one out for sure. It's quite interesting what Heather was saying about Clara being the first Doctor, because that was obviously a thing that was. I mean, we mentioned it when we talked about Flatline quite a lot of episodes back, didn't we? So, you know, that's like her kind of tester for being the Doctor, and then she does, and like you're saying, she's becoming increasingly. She wants to face the danger. She almost gets off on it, doesn't she? She gets like an adrenaline kick from from sort of throwing herself in there, and then it goes a bit far away, hanging upside
but
down.
she loves it
TARDIS,
still,
but, and of course of what happens at the end when she flies off in a TARDIS on her own. But I'm not sure from that perspective, I can see she could be the first female Doctor, but I always thought the first female Doctor as such was probably Romana, the Fourth Doctor's companion, particularly in the Horns of Naimon episode, because while Tom and the guys are having doing lots of lols between each other, Romana's off actually carrying the story with a sonic screwdriver, hopping between worlds, being a Time Lord, being a Doctor, doing what the Doctor does, and the Doctor's just making fart jokes with Graham Crowder.
Well, I think Romana being a Time Lord as well, it would be sort of potentially natural that she becomes kind of Doctor-like, but for Clara being a human.
Who's a mere human
at this point, anyway.
Well,
the Impossible Girl
and all the rest. I mean, she's already died twice, so like we said,
it's a Moffat thing.
I don't know. It's a good one. I love the tragedy of this, as I've said, but I think I tell you what kills it for me is because I don't get that, and full respect to you and Heather and all the Clara fans
I know what you're
going to
say.
But I don't get emotional investment that you guys seem to get, because I don't buy. I just don't buy Clara. And do you know what? Right, so it's almost like there are three different types of Clara. Right, you've got the splinters, like the Oswin Oswalds and the governess and all that way, and then you get actual Clara, right, with Matt Smith and everything else, right, and then she dies at the end of Name of the Doctor and gets fractured and thrown throughout and everything else. And then we get Series 8 Clara with Danny Pink trying to have an emotional relationship, trying to be like a normal human. Suddenly she's a school teacher, okay? And, this is a different Clara to who we've had. So who the fuck is she, really? And it's almost like I'm restarting with somebody who looks like her. And that might be intentional because of the whole splintery thing, even though this is still OG Clara, right, I guess. And then in Series 9, we get a different Clara again. This Clara, without Danny Pink, post-Danny Pink traumatic, trying to be more like the Doctor, trying to, throwing herself out there. Maybe that's a grief thing that she's kind of going through, because she doesn't have to think about Danny Pink, and thankfully neither do we, so that's all good. But by the time we get to, I just find it really difficult to engage with her as a genuine human character. She's a great sci-fi concept. Again, I get that, and I like what what they've done with her throughout the Doctor's lives. It's a neat idea. We haven't seen it before. Nice and original. But I think, honestly, by this point, I think she's outstayed the length of her character. It's like they keep adding. It's like when you read a book and you get to the epilogue and you read the epilogue and you think, oh, okay, that's great. Or you get to the book and then you realise there's an epilogue and you think, okay, well, I can do the epilogue. Tells what's happened later on, blah, blah, blah. Then you get to the end of the epilogue and there's like another epilogue. And okay, so that's fine. It's, it's telling me something different now, but okay, that's fine. And then you think, right, that's the end of the book. No, wait, there's another epilogue, okay. It's just like that. So it kind of waters down, for me, the original idea. So by the time Clara died, and I loved Face the Raven, because I think it's a great story, as I said, and I love the way she dies. I love the tragedy of it. I love the way Jenna plays it. I love the way Peter plays it. There's very little about this story that I dislike. Very little, and what I dislike about it isn't really worth mentioning, but I think it's a beautiful, brilliantly written, brilliantly directed and played story, but I have no emotional investment. I don't care that she's died, to be honest. I love the way she does it with her arms outstretched and the smoke and the raven, like I said, but I honestly don't feel, if it was somebody else, if it had been a different companion of the Doctor who'd started at that season, maybe, and we'd grown up with them in a very short space of time, maybe. But like, she's already died twice. She's now a completely different character, twice removed from when we originally saw her. There's no connection to Clara now to Clara when she started, not even through any kind of natural career development. It's all been foisted on her by plot and the need to kind of do something different each season. That's how I feel anyway. So yeah, sorry mate, I love the story, but Clara at this point I just don't engage with it. So
thanks for that. Let's talk about Jenna again. I do think that in Series 7, Clara is just sort of fun and bubbly, and a kind of average companion, by which I mean she just sort of does, the things that companions do. Really nicely played by Jenna, and she's good with Matt. But it's more about the Impossible Girl than anything else. And then I think,
which is really a kind of a cipher, isn't it?
She's a puzzle.
She's like a shield. She's like a sci-fi concept. She's an idea there that's going to play out in some way, and it's almost like that has priority over any kind of character description.
I agree.
So whoever Clara's going to be, I feel, is actually just down to Jenna and how she wants to play
think
it.
so. And then
the
she had more to do in 8 and then 9. I do feel there's a development across 8 and 9. For her and with Peter.
Yeah, maybe across 8 and 9. Yeah, if you take the whole Danny Pink thing, what she's like before it and what she's like after it, I can
Danny
get
dying.
That, but there doesn't. But it's like, but the name of the Doctor is like a severing point. That moment when she gets splintered through, and we get almost like a reborn, different Clara.
And I don't think that's not
an
unreasonable assessment. And I think with Danny Pink, he pegs it and kind of pushes her to live a life she wants a bit more. Wish he was. He was a wet blanket as well, but that whole time,
I agree with you.
She's lying to him. She wants to travel with the Doctor, and that's clearly.
And he just spends the time being whingy and needy, and
it's clearly she wanted that sort of life that the Doctor had, and then with Jenna in herself, she was going to leave at the end of Series 8 in Last Christmas. And hence why she was old in that episode, and that's how it was shot, and that was the end. And then she decided she wanted to stay on, and so they went back again in Last Christmas and kind of had her come back.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. So then it's like, it's like an epilogue after an epilogue, isn't it? And that's maybe partly why I feel like her character's kind of done.
For me, it was quite sad that, but sort of bittersweet with the Doctor there when she's old, and he recognises her still and all that. And then when she becomes young again, and she's sticking around for brilliant, so I was quite happy with that. Did we have an audio from Joe? Is this about
let's play
Face the Raven?
Joe Ford.
Okay,
it is about Face the Raven. So here we go. You ready for this?
Okay,
strap yourselves down, people. This is a ride. Here we go.
Well, hello there, Who Corner to Corner. It's Joe Ford here from our
Hi, Joe.
Knife. And I've got 90 seconds to tell you why I think Face the Raven is a very good episode of Doctor Who. I think it has a really fun first half and a genuinely dramatic and sort of uneasy feel in the second half, despite the fact that, oh my God, after that bird is coming for her, it goes on forever. I mean, what is it with all these goodbyes in classic in New Who? Going on forever, all these bloody speeches. Just kill her already. I think I have a huge issue with Series 9 as a whole. I think it's too depressing. I think it's got sort of a weird toxic codependency relationship between the regulars. I think the wit is exhausted, and generally speaking, it's a bit of a depressing affair. And this episode is actually quite fun and sparky for the most part, with some fun dialogue and some fun interactions. That's one of the reasons why I really, really like it, is that it's one of two bright spots in the otherwise very mundane and very dreary Series 9. I mean, it's miles ahead of the Yawn Fest that's coming next, Heaven Sent, and the, blimey, continuity overload that is Heaven Bent. Heaven Bent? Hellbent.
Hellbent.
Raven, great. Thumbs up.
Thanks, Joe. That's brilliant. That's really interesting what Joe said there, because I've always felt as well that Series 9 is quite a dark one. You've got Sleep No More, Zygon, Invasion version.
I don't think it's even. Yeah.
Sorry. And it started with Series 8, and it did get progressively darker. And when you've got like Death in Heaven and Dark Water and stuff, that's pretty the skeleton revealing water stuff, and it's funny, bearing in mind I generally like more kind of optimistic type stuff. That I like these two series over series 10 and 7. Yeah, and I can understand why some people kind of switched off with it at this point. It started to get complex, relatively with Matt and the puzzly elements, and then it got really quite dark, here in series 8 and 9.
I just thought it got really boring.
So that's interesting. Maybe people just felt that like you didn't really connect with Clara, and maybe other people didn't.
No, I mean series 8. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Deep Breath, but it's all right. I think it's okay. I'll enjoy it. I'll watch it. And despite a few episodes, a few stories, I just found the whole thing. Actually, I was waiting for something to happen, and it just never seemed to really get going. I thought Peter Capaldi was a great Doctor. Come on, let's use him. And he would rise to everything that he was given and give it 110% if that's even possible. But Capaldi did. And then, but I found that the stories just did not engage me in at all. And I thought, well, is this me? Have I actually now got tired of Doctor Who that it's just not doing it for me? And then series 9, I didn't find it. I mean, it is quite dark, but it's not dark. It's just really
like
depressing.
Joe said, that's probably,
and despite starting off with that, you either love it or that Marmite moment with Doctor Disco on the tank, crashing a party in medieval whatever it is. You either love that or you hate it, and I love it. I thought, okay, this is something now. We're going somewhere with this. But again, it never. And the evilness of Missy, I thought was good, and we had a good arc with her, but not really. Nothing really. They push the Doctor into things, and this is the only point here, I think, at the end of this season where we start to see the Doctor being really pushed, and actually. It's one of the reasons I like these 3 stories, because we see what the Doctor will do when he is pushed into that place. So we'll talk about that more in the next one. And then series 10 I kind of liked a little bit more because it was a bit of a reboot. So all the Clara stuff had gone, Jenna Coleman had gone, goodbye, sorry Jen, love you loads, but bye. Here's Bill Potts, she's a bit new. And whilst again I didn't think it quite rose to where it was going to be, it nonetheless dropped in some killer memorable moments. And I love the
pyramid,
I know you
did. Maybe I should revisit that.
But I'll love to do that one but again, me, I love the high concept stuff. I don't necessarily engage with the character stuff all the time because I don't find it particularly convincing most of the time in Doctor Who, so I don't usually worry about it. It's all, to me, it's all a little bit melodramatic until we get to Jodie's era and we see more grounded, realistic type characters who are written just as the likes of us are. Nobody's special or anything, because I don't buy that whole impossible girl thing. I don't buy the most important person in the universe with Donna. I don't really dig the bad wolf and stuff like that. I don't think of it on human terms. These are kind of elevated, stylistic, almost cipher-loaded characters. Quotation fingers. They're not really characters. They're hyper-realistic characters. They're given special properties that take them beyond human. So that's why I find it difficult to kind of feel for she's fine, Clara's death in Face the Raven, but the style of it, the like Joe said, that bird when it comes for her. Great.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the genuine human characteristics and traits of the Chibnall era characters, but
whereas other people find it really boring.
That's the beauty of it,
which is fine. That's up to them, because some people love all that stylized, heightened stuff and can relate to it, more than I do. Which, and I'm not taking anything away from that. I think it's great. And if you're someone who can feel like you, Geoff, you feel Clara in a way that I don't, and I think I'd always struggle with it, to be honest, because of reasons. But I don't want to take anything away from your love of that character.
I'm just going to say, I'm just going to go through the episode run here. So, Deep Breath, banger. Into the Dalek was all right. Robot of Sherwood, banger. Listen, banger.
Sorry, just Into the Dalek. Into the Dalek. I've watched it once, and every time I keep trying to watch it again, I fall asleep. which is not good, is it? I just want to get another. I want to start the Capaldi stories again, just from a little bit older now, maybe different, but I just can never quite get off the ground.
So listen, banger.
Sorry, go on.
Time Heist, pretty good.
In fact, you do that, and I'll give you my opinion as well. By the medium of
all right,
sound.
let's do that. Caretaker, banger. Kill the Moon, banger. Mummy on the Orient Express, also a banger. Flatline, massive banger. In the Forest of Night, I might have to revisit that one. Dark Water, banger. Death in Heaven, banger.
Boring.
And then Last Christmas, total banger. Magician's Apprentice, total banger. Which is really a total banger.
We Are
Under
Aligned.
the Lake, total banger. Before the Flood, banger. Girl Who Died, sub banger. Woman Who Lived, not a banger. Zygon Invasion, total banger. Zygon Inversion, total banger. Sleep No More, total banger. Face the Raven, total banger. Heaven Sent, total banger. Hellbent, total banger. So,
oh really? You're a big fan of
my
Hellbent
overall assessment of these two series is total banger.
As we will find out as we look at the next two stories, fandom becomes somewhat divided here, I think, but we will discuss that. So you've got some feedback from our Twitter followers, our ex-followers, whatever you want to call them.
They are still followers. They haven't left, if that's what you mean by ex.
It's whether they're ex or
Did we have any
Twitter.
other audios to play? I know there's more, but are they...
There's a few more Heaven Sent things, so maybe let's keep those as we're sort of getting towards our time limit.
So let's go through here. So Ian Banks, this is about Face the Raven. Ian Banks, who's at Stuff Ian likes, says the idea of the Trap Street would have made it a great standalone episode by itself, but the addition of the comparatively low stakes saving Rigsy, which then escalate into Clara being killed and the Doctor being sent into the confession dial, make it far more exciting. Nicholas Moore, who's at Nicholas Moore 1, perhaps? I can't see it all. 16, sorry. Literally just rewatched this one for the first time in years last night. It's actually pretty weak, I feel. The premise is interesting on paper, but it feels purely like a setup story that exists to fill an episode slot and get over the plot point and sets up the next pair. Interesting. It's sort of along the lines of what you said. JWC...
But I think it does stand up on its own, actually. You can imagine if it ended differently, perhaps with the Doctor flying off in the TARDIS, then, it would still be the same story.
JWC reviews, it's hugely convoluted, all that overly complicated setup just to capture the Doctor. That's true. It's a good story, but the revelation at the end that it was all a Time Lord plot just to capture the Doctor detracted from it. It would have been a great standalone story on merit alone. Mark's Teg, who's at Alid Gwyn Williams, says Face the Raven was the perfect end for Clara. Bringing her back undid the tragedy of it for the sake of a happily ever after that didn't work.
We will talk about that, won't we?
Spoiler alert, Alid, it worked for me.
Okay, maybe we don't need to talk about it then, because Geoff just sums it up right there. Don't worry, listeners. I've got your backs.
CSO Fringe says appears to be a standalone. That's a good name.
CSO Fringe. I love
appears
that.
to be a
That's brilliant.
standalone episode which would handily resolve the Me plot, so that Me takes Clara's place, given that it's Me who had the arrangement with the Raven and is immortal. So it wrong foots you by actually killing off Clara, who then isn't dead but also is. I've just seen one here. Sorry, I missed this one from Sakatates. You're leaving out Sleep No More. I'll have to comment and say we've already done that. We have done
this one.
Adam Lane says, brilliant 3 parts, just ruined by Moff's happy ending fetish. She should have gone straight back to die at the end of the ep. Her being alive practically forever literally undoes the entire episode 12. Would never have to go too far and try.
Yeah. But we don't know that yet, because we haven't watched
seen
the other
that
two,
yet, so.
apparently. So.
And then a few comments about Clara here. We had 38 comments here, which was fantastic, really. So I'll just read a few of these, and I'll do more next time. April Anxiety says, I wasn't keen on her first time around, but I get the relationship more on a second watch, especially knowing where Danny fitted in. I think she got a watered-down version of Ace's storyline to get trained to be a Time Lord, sort of.
Oh,
Quite interesting.
yes, good point. Yeah, absolutely. that was where the whole training for a time. I mean, it was kind of after the series had finished, but there was always that intention apparently to kind of make her into a sort of trainee Time Lord, or the Doctor was going to put her for that. But we did see some of that in Death Comes to Time, I think. But interesting. Yeah, good point. I never thought of that. I should have thought of that.
Eduardo M. Freya the First says she was a decent companion, but her arcs needed work, especially the Impossible Girl. There were many arcs. Yeah. Joe Ford says Clara lacks consistent characterization or a likable personality. Why must you hurt me, Joe? Jenna is a good actress, but saddled with a poorly thought-through, smug, condescending character that irritatingly flirts with one Doctor and has a toxic relationship with the other. I'm going to like that.
Yeah, I know exactly
I like
where it's
Joe a
coming
lot,
from.
but I don't agree with that.
He's right.
Well,
more stories than not, I found are just smug. That's a good word. Smug and condescending. I mean, nobody's perfect, right? We've all got some kind of fatal flaw or something that we have, and actually, I kind of like the fact that she was smug and condescending, because it made her not a perfect person. She could so easily have just been written like she's the ultimate goddess woman or whatever, and just was brilliant at everything. But giving her that sort of toxic edge was great. Ignore whatever Geoff's going to say now, because it's going to be massively biased.
She is the ultimate goddess woman. I met Jenna at the 50th celebration.
Moving on.
Actually. Tiny and lovely.
Who's next?
But Joe's comments there. This is one of the things that I like. We all have different thoughts and views, and as long as we're respectful and stuff, it's absolutely fine.
But Clara is smug and condescending.
Anyway.
She is. Whether you just obviously love that, or you just ignore it.
Like you just said, that one of the things that I enjoy here with the character is that she's not the perfect, and there's more depth to it. Space, who's at 13th Doctor __ says, I adore Clara. I'd love a Clara Big Finish box set. Me too. I love her confidence in her chaos, and I'd love to see her as the lead of her own stories. James Sylvester, who's James Sylvester 1, says Clara is one of my all-time favourite companions. I wasn't too taken with the Impossible Girl arc, but the depth of the relationship between her and 12 was, for me, the most intense love affair of the show, even beyond River, Rose and Joe. They were soulmates. And you know what, James? You ain't wrong there.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Did he say Joe? Joe Grant? Did he mean Joe? Did he say Joe?
All right,
no,
that's one for another time, then.
Sorry. I think you were doing fine until that, but you almost got away with it. But
right.
Everyone's entitled to their opinions,
I'm read...
right? That's what we always say, but I'm afraid when it comes to Joe Grant, you're wrong.
I'm going to read two more and save the others for another time. Paul Quinn says, the greatest companion in New Who and one of the greatest companions of all time. Coleman gives her all, even with some crappy scripts, but that's indicative of the fact she's one of the greatest actors of her generation. And you know what? I don't think Paul's wrong there. And, said earlier about some of the stuff Jenna's done, which is great, and I kind of feel like, she should be bigger than she is, along the lines of Karen Gillan, but maybe she doesn't want to be doing that. Maybe she does a bit of theatre and kind of much more dramatic work that's not kind of big blockbustery stuff. But Karen still moves from that world to indie stuff that she directs and stars in, and kind of covers the best of both worlds, really. And our pal Mestel the Magnificent says, absolutely dreadful. I said to some younger fans who attended a film club I was in at the time that Moffat may as well have renamed the programme Clara, as it's sure as Sutek wasn't Doctor Who, and they agreed. Tedious and irrelevant.
He's not a fan of New Who, is he? Of Mestel, bless him. We have tried to bring him on board and show him the light, but he's not having it. And
we do.
But we love you anyway.
Zero against you there. And then there's a couple more here that have just come in while we've been chatting.
I don't know. He's not a fan of Warriors Gate, which I'm not happy about.
Percy says, I think this is too late. Well, it's not too late because we're reading this as we're chatting.
Never too
but I
late.
feel like I'm the only person in the fandom that hates her. Geez, Percy, I should have proofread this one before I read it out, shouldn't I?
Smuggle that one in.
As you
Hate's a
can
very
perhaps
strong
see,
word.
you're not probably alone in that. In terms of the story, she works perfectly, but she's a total dick. OMG. There were so many things that grate on me. I'm going to give...
Which is the story where she's clinging to the TARDIS.
Day of the Doctor.
Isn't it? When she gets thrown through the vortex.
Yeah. She's on the outside, yeah.
Matt Smith's last,
Yes,
the 11th Doctor's regen story, and she's thrown through the vortex, literally clinging onto the outside of the TARDIS.
There's one more here. Gareth Bowley.
Just stretches the bounds of credibility even more. I think.
Dreadful. The character for her is around her puzzle of existence for the Doctor, not much else on her, and as a result, she feels superfluous for 2 years as they suddenly tack on attempts to make her. Yep, that's the one. I genuinely cheered at the end of Raven. Well.
Are you sure you wanted to read these out? Did you not proof these before?
I'm going back to the... here we go. Max Norton says, my favourite companion. Jenna is a brilliant actress and her dynamic with Capaldi is my favourite of the whole show, with Peter being my favourite Doctor. And Amy, Spencer Tracy fan, says she's my favourite companion. Her dynamic with the Doctor is my favourite. Her relationship with 12 is one of the deepest and most complex, I think. And I think her arc is one of the most interesting and unique. Yes, Amy. So I'd just like to say I'm an equal opportunity Clara-ist by having some who like it.
An equal opportunity Clara-ist. That's going to be your epitaph for this episode of
walking into a couple of tweets there for people who don't like it. I've still read them out. I'm giving that, and I respect people's views. So I think that's probably the end of Face the Raven, part 1 of the Death of Clara. So we will be back very soon with Heaven Sent, and I believe we have some audios for that, and there's a few tweets about that as well.
We do. We could do the few more audios if anybody's out there wants to chuck them in. Please do. Was it SpeakPipe?
SpeakPipe.com/whoc2c. So, yeah.
There you go. We'll have the link on our socials anyway. Not on YouTube, because as soon as you put a link on YouTube, you're banned for life. So obviously that's not a done thing,
let's not do that. So
don't do that.
I'm going to go now. I'm not going to say. I'm going to go now and think about Clara. That's oh dear.
This is a different episode, and frankly, just make sure you turn off your webcam this time, Geoff, because nobody needs to see that again. Frankly. Dear listeners, thank you for staying with us through Geoff's Clara Love Fest, as I attempted to bring some kind of deep discussion about the episode. I think I failed, but nonetheless, for a champion of Clara in this episode, where it's worthwhile talking about it, because this is where she kind of comes to an end.
It is really, yeah.
So yes. So big kudos to my good friend here, Geoff, there, for flying the Clara flag and singing her love. And do you know what, mate? I respect that.
Appreciate that.
Right there. That's there.
More to come.
No worries. Listeners, watchers, thank you for joining us. Do be sure to tune in next time when we talk about Heaven Sent, because that's an episode that gets people talking one way or another for sure.
TTF, man.
Anyway, ta-ta for now. Bye.